The best was Sammy Sosa during the period of time, right? No speed. You're like, wait a minute, Sammy. You were just in a Doublemint commercial
Clearly of English.
where you were fine. You were singing. You were tap dancing. You were like a regular Sammy Davis Jr. Forget about Sosa.
Hey, what do you mean? When he hit 60 home runs 3 straight years?
Yeah,
He was doing interviews every day.
every day.
That was straight English.
All of a sudden, some crusty old senator from Kentucky is asking him, "Well, what about this thing they call the juice there, Sammy?"
No say.
No speak. Don't say nothing. Don't say me that.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And on a beautiful Thursday morning here in South Florida, welcome to the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubie Lubitz. And I want to spare the audience what we should be doing, which is doing this show naked or in some compromising fashion because
we were wrong. Like why should they be punished?
Well, and there's a lesson to be learned out of all of this, and I think we've been emphasizing this for a long period of time, but for some reason we're too chicken shit to actually act on it. Which is that if you want to be successful in life, people, don't follow conventional wisdom, and if you want to be successful as a degenerate gambler, never follow conventional wisdom. Nonetheless, any kind of wisdom. And make sure that you're such a contrarian, but you do have to pick your spots, Lubie. And I'm not sure that last night would have looked attractive to anybody, no matter how daring, no matter how much of a daredevil you happen to be. I don't care if you're one of the Walendas and you're willing to walk across the Grand Canyon on a high wire with no net and Joel Osteen making out with your wife on one side while the wind is howling in your face coming from the other side. Whatever chances you're willing to take, I'm not sure that anybody has taken chances big enough. Was there anybody out there? I can only think of one person that might have conceived of doing this, and that would have been Kyle Moneyline Martinez. Might have thought about it, but it would have taken some serious balls to go ahead and parlay on the money line the Florida Panthers last night against the Boston Bruins in Beantown with Bob Kraft in the audience again. He may be the human jinx. He may be the male Rachel Nichols. Bob Kraft, because where was he the night before? At the TD Garden there, TD Center, whatever it's called there, while watching the Celtics improbably fall to the Atlanta Hawks, who you had to think were in there merely as sacrificial lambs and were certainly going to go down in 5. In fact, they were doing the Celtic fans a favor by winning that one game so they could go ahead and clinch it home. And everybody could have been sipping clam chowder on the way back to their homes and thinking, hey, now let's get the Bruins home tomorrow night. And sure enough, there's Bobby Kraft again in some very good seats, Lubie. And what happens? The Bruins go down to the Florida Panthers. That was a shock. Was that not enough of a shock to your system? Because then you were just waiting for the routine beating by the Milwaukee Bucks over the Miami Heat. And as we said, it was all going to boil down to Game 6. And if the Heat could somehow find a way to prevail, they win the series. It's an 8th seed beating a 1 seed. That would be the 6th time in NBA history, which it turned out to be that happened. And there were the Bucks breezing along. What happens to the Milwaukee Bucks when they get up 13 in the fourth quarter? Did they just decide the game's over then? Is it the shoe standing up before the wire in the Kentucky Derby? I mean, what is it that makes the Bucks completely fall apart? Not even at a moment of truth, at a moment where they should be putting the champagne on ice and thinking, guess what, guys? We're back in the series, and you're going to end up losing and becoming part of a more infamous stat, which is being one of the 5% of teams that have lost a 3-1 lead in an NBA series in the history of the league. And sure enough, I mean, I don't know how many people actually followed that all the way through the game, because it was wildly exciting, as it turned out. Now, I have to catch up with it, because I fell asleep when the Bucks were leading by like 13, and it appeared they were easily on their way to taking this thing back to South Florida. And then I was stunned later on to find out. And then when you see the fashion in which it happened, you're like, my God, holy Eric Spoelstra. What did Spoelstra do? You talk about a charmed life, right? Guys taking videos of Mickey Harrison's son, Nick Harrison's bar mitzvah, and they say, hey, you know what? We need a new coach.
I don't. It wasn't. That's. It wasn't. There was something in the middle there.
What did he do? He was like one of 15 guys that sits
He
there
was
like
on the
this the whole game,
He was on
And
the
then when the
staff.
huddle comes, they sort of are in the background. How many assistant coaches do you really need on a basketball team? Seriously.
They
They have
have like
more coaches on a basketball team now than they used to have on like Shula's staff.
yes, they have like 10. There's like 10 guys. There's 2 rows of people. There might be 3 rows of people actually.
Who deserves credit for what happened here, though? I mean, is it Spolstra? Is it Jimmy Butler? Is it Heat Culture? Is it Budenholzer
It's
for
a
being a
little bit.
bozo? I mean, who deserves credit here?
It's a little bit of Jimmy Butler, Spolstra, because I think you could see and I didn't even watch the game. I'm not gonna lie. I watched the replays, and you can see when Butler was like,
That sucks that their game was available on 2 sources and you were shut out on both.
I could have found it.
What do you have? Reiku TV or something? What do you have? Some new thing?
Roku. No, I have Hulu Live, which is like YouTube doesn't have Bally's, but it does have NBA TV, and that's the one thing I should have. And I don't watch NBA TV enough to like bitch about it. It's just in these playoff games because there's so many that one of these series is always on NBA TV. So next year I'll have to fix that. Going forward, that won't be the case anymore, so I don't have to worry about it. But again, this was a game I thought they'd lose, so I didn't give a shit. Like I wasn't that. I'm like, good for them that the game that I can watch, they're gonna get rocked in. To me, look, when the overtime, Budenholzer lost his shit. Like he just the last play was weird. The Bucks lost their shit when they got the jump ball and then Giannis tried to throw it out of bounds. Like, what are they doing? Like,
No, they played, like they had all of a sudden been drugged. Did they not? Either that or, there was going to finally surface years later a video of Antetokounmpo's love child that was being kidnapped and held
yes.
by the Taliban or something.
Like a Denzel Washington movie.
Yeah, right.
Throw the game or his kids.
They were 13-point favorites by the time the game went off. I saw originally the Heat were plus 475. You were getting 475 for 100 on the money line with the Heat if you decided to abdicate the luxury of having double-digit points with a team that had just won against the same team and had already proven that they could go toe-to-toe with them. And, and we're not inclined to just go ahead and sheepishly throw in the towel in a game in Milwaukee. That's amazing. The line was 11.5, and it went to 13,
yes.
Lubie.
Yes.
13 points. Team had just lost to the Miami Heat, and Jimmy Butler had just torched them for 56.
If you told me you got 38 and 20 from Giannis, Middleton, because I was,
Middleton was on fire early in that game.
And then come to find out Middleton at 33. If you told me that, I'm like, yeah, they're not winning that game because that's what will beat the Heat is taking over and then someone helping him. But then you counter with, but Butler had 42. Love had 15. Lowry had 10. Vincent had 22.
This guy came to life as a shooter, huh? Gabe Vincent.
I was like, all right, I guess.
He was shooting the ball like Vincent Price. I mean, most of the season.
The game was stupid as fuck. When they were in overtime and they had a lead and there was 7 seconds on the shot clock.
That was Vincent Price, by the way, not Mark Price.
Vincent Price is the guy that played Dracula, right?
Yeah, he was in all the horror movies.
But other than that,
he was to horror movies what Frank Vincent is to mob movies, where he's in every one. Although he was more of a star, whereas a lot of people wouldn't know who Frank Vincent was by name, but they would always recognize him because he was in every mob movie ever made.
Yep,
incredible. But you were saying what, Lubie?
I was just going to say, if you show me the stats, I would have thought they got killed. Like you go deeper, and Giannis should have had 50 because he should have made like 10 more free throws.
Yes.
And the last 5 minutes of regulation, the Bucks forgot how to play basketball, and the entire overtime outside of the last 2 minutes, the Bucks sort of woke up in the last 2 minutes. But when first I saw my buddies texting, "What the fuck are the Bucks doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably just hating." Then I saw the replays, and I was like, "Look, it's Jimmy imposing his will." But it also this time around, it felt like the Bucks literally just short circuited, and it's like, "Yeah, we can't beat this guy."
They were playing clown ball at the end. They really were, including, as if it was a smashed pumpkin after Halloween, the ball just sitting in Grayson Allen's hands.
How does he get the ball?
As the shot clock expires.
And you have him.
You don't even get a shot off at the end of the game.
Like he must have been like, okay, sure.
Hey, give it to Allen.
There's 4 other guys. Even Bobby Portis, I'd rather have the ball in his hands. Grayson Allen driving.
Yeah, well, I mean, looked like they just got caught up in a bad play period, and the ball ended up in his hands. But certainly not exactly well aware of the situation as he tries to drive it to the basket, doesn't even get a shot off, and that's a disgrace in that spot, right? I mean, you're talking about J.R. Smith at that point. Why don't you just dribble it out to the midcourt stripe and hand it to LeBron and go, "We did it!"
And you're losing.
Go and shoot the ball, you stupid fuck.
You were tired. I think they were.
My
tired.
God. So yeah, I mean, two impossible victories to foresee. We certainly didn't see it. We know that you guys probably look at us and figure, hey, whatever those guys say, we have a pretty good chance to go the other way and win money. Had you had the wherewithal to go ahead and have some serious guts and abdicate the 13 points you could have had with the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, at that point, you have to take the points with the Miami Heat, don't you?
I told
People,
you.
I mean, where is this money coming from? From Saudi Arabia? Is Greg Norman sending it in on the Bucks? I mean, who could move the line from 11.5 to 13
The night of.
like inside the day of the game?
Everyone. I
With
mean,
no news. I mean, it wasn't like you found out Jimmy Butler wasn't going to play, right? What news could shake this up like that?
I,
Martha Stewart didn't have inside information that could have helped her out any more than somebody that was sending it in on a line that moved from 11.5 to 13. That day, I mean, with certainty, people thought that this was going to be not just a defeat by the Miami Heat, but a shellacking, an embarrassment. So, to see them win. So the money line had to be about plus 500 by that point. No? Well, I'm thinking it was higher than the odds that I saw.
how do you at least 5-1, if not more? I mean, 13.
Notice this is all we're concerned about. Never mind the greatness of Jimmy Butler or historically what this means or the fact that they're going to face the Knicks. Anybody could talk about that.
We'll move on to that. We'll have time for that. I mean, we're gonna have 2 weeks of that.
But that we didn't parlay $100 to the Panthers and the Heat on the money line, that cost us $1,000. So, Louis, $1,000 last night could have been made very easily. That's the way you make money gambling, by having guts. You don't make it by following conventional wisdom. Well, I think I'll go ahead and play the 3 to 5 shot.
But
that's why people hate chalk lovers. They just do, and yet there's always an inclination to follow conventional wisdom and bet the chalk. Is there not?
I told you yesterday, I thought that spread was ridiculous. I thought the Heat were going to lose, and you never know what the spread would have been.
Yeah.
Like what the end result would have been. But they had just won. Like the Bucks, for the spreads to keep getting bigger after the Bucks lost, I thought was
double digits was absurdly large. You had to think that.
I told you, I'm like, yeah, I can see the Heat being in it. I just don't see them winning it. Like that spread, if I had known I got up to 13 something, I would have told people go on the Heat. Like Butler's not going to lose by 30. Like this isn't that other game. Like they were just trying to figure out how to play without Hero. Like this is different. All these other guys have woken up a lot, and Butler, and as the kids say, is in his bag. Like Butler's not losing this game by 30. Now I could see them losing by 10 or 9, but once it got to 13 and a half or 13, like that's just stupid.
13 points, was a very generous allotment, as evidenced by the fact that the team lost outright. Although there was a time during the game where you thought, all right, you know what, Milwaukee's going to win this, just like everybody thought, and they're going to cover this rather generous allotment of points that is being doled out by the bookmakers here, who don't believe that the Heat will be in this for 1 second. Actually, it wasn't the bookies; it was the people, and we were of the same line of thought. I mean. Should we be ashamed, Lubie? I think so. I was at my grandson's birthday party, and I made him cry because he asked me, "Hey, Mr. Sports, Grandpa Defo, do you think either the Panthers or the Heat can win tonight?" And I said, "No way, kid, man. Just go back to eating your cake."
No way. There's no shot.
No shot. What do you think he thinks of me now, right? And there was a traditional, is that going to become cliche? Where the kid, they say, hey, what'd you get for your birthday? And he says, the usual stick from Grandpa. I didn't realize this. He has like a net worth already of like 4 dimes, this kid. Just from birthday presents and bar mitzvahs and stuff like that. Well, he hasn't been bar mitzvahed yet. I guess he's not going to be,
It
right?
won't be. Yeah, it feels
Yeah.
your
That's
son wasn't raised very Jewish.
unlikely that I would probably ante up the cash or have it at the time to go ahead and stage a rather expensive bar mitzvah.
Yes.
Well, I might have been able to if I hadn't been such a putz.
If you're gone all in.
I don't know that we've ever said anything on any show that we've ever done, Louis, with such certainty as our approach to the two games last night. We were talking about them in terms of finding the stats in the obituary column with the great Jim Sarney.
Yeah, when we were with Mayo, I wasn't joking. Like Mayo's like, "What do you think about tonight?" I said, "Don't watch."
Yeah, do yourself a favor. Go find something else to do. Go to a restaurant, man.
It's like the Panthers are done clearly, and the Heat. I think it'll be interesting, but it's going to be painful because the Bucks aren't going to go out that easy. I think the Heat are still in good shape, but the Bucks, they were look, they're the favorite for the championship. They weren't favored to come out of the East. They had the best record.
Probably half the NBA analyst experts had the Bucks winning it all.
Winning, not just going.
Yeah.
Remember,
yeah.
It's the Suns or a Nuggets or this rejuvenated Lakers.
This wasn't even a threat this series.
Celtics beating the Sixers, who look strong right now, to now be there, win. And I was again, they're going to win it all. They finally have Middleton healthy. Giannis is MVP candidate again. They're going to win it all. This Heat team is losing in 4 or 5. It is what it is. I was resigned to that fact. I assumed they'd lose that game because the Bucks could not go out without at least some kind of a fight. Like, come on.
They had to force a game 6. I mean, if they had any dignity, any pride, any ability, I mean, number 1 seed all year long.
Yeah.
Eastern Conference was tough. Boston started out great, ball of fire coming out of the gate there. And really only had a couple of times where they even remotely sputtered during the course of the season. Philadelphia was a team that you thought probably should, just as easily have been in first place. It was kind of surprising that they were stuck there in that third tier in the Eastern Conference pretty much, all season long. There wasn't a lot of juxtaposition there. It looked like the third race at Yonkers, right, where they break from the gate. And it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and it stays that way all the way around. They just go around like it was a merry-go-round. That's how the Eastern Conference kind of stacked up. Boston was in the lead for most of the year. Milwaukee then really came on. Seemed to hold the advantage throughout the second half of the season anyway. And Philadelphia never really got close to being in second place. And that's the way it stacked up. 4th and 5th, very credible seasons by the Knicks and the Cavaliers in reverse order there. The Cavs finished with the 4th seed and yet bounced out by the Knicks, which sets up a very juicy proposition here because most people would say there is no rivalry anymore between the Heat and the Knicks, and the Heat and Knicks fans do not have the acrimony that they used to. You're saying or suggesting that this has been given new life, like Lazarus just risen from the grave, that this whole hatred between the Heat and the Knicks fans.
I mean, look, the Knicks haven't been good enough for them to have hatred toward anyone. They just want their team to win. The Heat have won a lot, and they've had rivalries with the Bucks, with the Celtics over the playoffs the last few years. So that supersedes anything with the Knicks. But, most of the fans that aren't, 15 and younger remember those games. So from a fan perspective, I can see them getting ready for this series. Remember, the 2 games this year or the 3 games this year were very contentious.
Yeah.
At both arenas. So it's the players. I don't think the players give a shit. Like, yeah, Jimmy may have an issue because Jimmy hates everyone. So that's just Jimmy's game, and thank God. I hope he holds on to that. That's the only problem for Jimmy is when he doesn't have the hatred. It's when he's like, okay, things are good. Then they lose the next 3. Like, if Jimmy can keep that hatred, that's wonderful. But the players, they don't. The Heat are great, and the Knicks have been this is their first series win in a decade. Their second series win in 2 decades. Like, it's like the Heat and the Dolphins and the Bills.
Yeah, I think Bill Bradley was part of the last
that was
next series win.
That is.
Yeah, they did. It was surprising because they handled the Cavaliers with relative ease. They did it again. Don't let that cat destroy the broadcast like it did yesterday.
Not again, sorry.
Yeah. Knicks 106, Cavs 95. The Knicks win that 4-1. 2012, the last time the two teams met, the Heat handled them with ease, 4-1 in that series. And then, of course, everybody remembers 4 straight years.
Yes.
The Heat and the Knicks, and that was a glory era of sports down here, 97 through 2000.
Oh, that's right.
The Heat and the Knicks met 4 consecutive years in the postseason, various levels and stages of the playoffs, mostly first round, I guess. And the Heat lost 3 out of 4 of those, I want to say.
Yes.
3 out of 4, and of course the Allen Houston shot. What was one that everybody remembers? A cheap brick from the side there on the right side of the basket, and looked like a miss from the wing, as they call it, and looked like a miss. It goes in, and the Heat lose that game. And the final score there, 78-77. That whole series, I was trying to look up a little history of the Heat and the Knicks and the playoffs because I mean, at one time it was just, and you can understand why, 4 straight years, and of course, this is New York South here in South Florida, and it was especially evident then that there was a pretty equal divide between the Heat fans and the Knicks fans here in town. And I would imagine you'll see the same thing happen again, though, that we witnessed. I'm not sure. The Heat fans may be numerous enough to stave off the unfortunate South Florida syndrome of having the Knicks come into your building and making it seem like they're the home team.
No, the Heat fans don't mess around with that.
They'll drown out the Knicks fans, I would think.
Yeah, no. Knicks fans will be there, and if the Knicks do well and the Heat are playing like ass, you'll hear a murmur. But this is the one fan base that we support the team all year, and they actually hate Knicks fans. They like the Heat fans hate Knicks fans.
But somehow Knicks fans will end up getting tickets because
they'll be there. They'll be there because
who is suggesting this on the show that when we were talking about how the Bruin fans dominated the Panthers arena and may well again as they contest Game 6.
I thought the Panthers fans would actually have a nice presence. I was wrong in that regard.
Yeah,
I thought the Broward fans, they have their nice, and they hate the outsiders. I was wrong.
Well, and somebody suggested it was cheaper for a Bruins fan instead of paying $1,000 a copy for a ticket to go see a game, in Boston. They could take a trip to South Florida, enjoy the weather down here, and get into a game, and it costs them about the same amount of money in total. No,
Essler, who has the season tickets for the Panthers and goes, that's why there were a lot of Bruin fans because he did the math. And Brian Schwartz said going in, and that was his contention, is that's why we're better fans. Our tickets are $2,000. Your tickets are $200. Sure. But if you do the math and how it's a lot cheaper, flights cheap from the Northeast down here now, like the season's done. Like you could get flights for like $200 round trip, 150, maybe less round trip. Hotels have now should be going down in money. If you're going to spend,
the season's over, man.
If you're going to spend $2,000, why not make a vacation out of it instead of going to one fucking game? And then you get to be in South Florida.
Perfectly understandable, yeah, because you're not going to get shut out of the arena because our guys will sell their souls rather than go and support the team. I'm still very happy. That was a brilliant choice made by my son. And it gave verification to that whole MasterCard theme where their advertising campaign was, time spent with your family, priceless or whatever. Or, whatever the ending was, right? They would say, Chevrolet Corvette, $42,000. Dinner for two at Carbone, $45,000. Time spent with your grandson, priceless, right? And the truth was, it could have easily comped at that time. Imagine this for behind home plate. This was Game 7, 97 World Series. It was literally, I had tickets right behind home plate, row 10, which the first 8 rows were founder seats. You remember this configuration, this hairy configuration they had at what is now Hard Rock Stadium for baseball? So you had to pay a premium to be in the founder seat. So it wasn't really all that expensive, actually, by the standards of, say, the Yankees or other teams that have this kind of, high-level seating, the personal seat license type of thing. So we're 2 rows behind the founder seats, right behind home plate. You can see the spin on the baseball as it comes to the plate. I can hear guys talking, the catcher talking to the batter. Hey, batter. I mean, all of this stuff is readily, there for you for the senses to experience, making it, an outrageous spot to be in for Game 7 of a World Series where the home team is going to eventually win. That being said, I think at the time, the face value on the tickets was $75. They juiced the price to $75. I was paying $14 a copy during a regular season for these seats. $14.
Like right there.
Yeah, 28 for 2. And I offered my son a chance to, scalp the tickets for the $1,500 that they were going for, $750 a copy. or and keep the money or go to the game. And I remember he said, "Hey, let's go to the game." That was pretty perceptive there for a kid that's 14. Could have easily used the 1,500. No, who knows what he would have done with that cash? Right? Probably bet it on the harness races if he was going to follow in the footsteps of his father. But yeah, the 1,500. What would that have done for me today, Louis? The 1,500, or even my son for that matter.
You'd have gotten rid of it in the next 6 months. You wouldn't have
Right. And yet I'll never forget being there. Right? Is there something to be said for sentiment, Libby,
oh
or
yeah,
would you
for sure.
still rather have had the cash at the time?
I mean, if you can find a way to get into those moments, you will remember the moments a lot more than the money.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain events that you attended as a sports fan that you will never forget. I mean, the details may become fuzzy over the years. Well, what was that with Bunning? The perfect game? Yeah, I was there. I think I was there. I think I was there when Kelso. Right? You start thinking, and then you look back chronologically. To events you could swear you were at. And you look back and you go, no, that was impossible. I didn't even live in that city at that time. What are you talking about? I don't know if that happens to you, but certain events will indelibly be impressed upon your cranium, and I won't forget that. Whereas, as you said, a guy told me this when I first got a job at Shea Stadium. A guy named Bob O'Neill was my supervisor, a 14-year-old Deef. And he looked at me and he said, okay, don't become too obsessed with the capital here because money is a perishable commodity. Correct, Libby? You can't take it with you. You may as well spend every dime. So that was good stuff. And I don't know if this series Knicks is going to produce the same kind of. I mean, you would think now, and this people are really scrambling to get their emotions back for the Miami Heat for sure. And I would imagine there are a lot of people. Never mind the Bruins fans. I bet a lot of people just chucked the tickets that they had. Well, this is all done online now, right? So you don't actually have a physical hard copy of a ticket if you have season tickets. Don't you just like show your watch when you go through the gate or whatever it is? Everything's on your phone, right, Libby? Does anybody have a hard copy of tickets anymore? If you buy a package of season tickets, remember how much fun it was to unload the whole thing and go, wow, look at that. I'm going to every game. Even if it was a limited number, like 8 games where you had Dolphin season tickets. Now maybe what? Do you get 9 home games in this 17-game season? Does a team get, somebody has to get 9 home games, don't they? What do you think, Libby? What are you doing? Are you doing an operation on that cat?
But yeah, but that's I don't know how many home games you get. They probably would go year to year. Now that there's an odd number,
Yeah,
like
right.
more home games, and next
When
year
are they going to correct that? The odd number of games.
I
How
don't
stupid
know.
is that?
It's because I don't know how much more preseason you can get rid of. The not having preseason is actually hurting the players, but 17 is a weird freaking number. And at some
Stupid,
point,
yeah.
like you would
Who
think that
does that? Roger Goodell gets paid $60 million dollars a year to be a commissioner, and he's got a 17-game regular season. Kind of strange. This is all right. We didn't even mention the draft, and Aaron Rodgers had his press conference yesterday. The Jets are winning the Super Bowl in the next 2 years, Libby. I'm convinced of that at this point. Just like we were convinced that the Panthers and the Heat had no chance to win their games last night. We're going to do a Hialeah Park trivia challenge. Are you up for that? All right, and
you are.
we do. I'm going to give that a shot. I came up with some questions last night. I don't know how difficult. The degree of difficulty may be very slight on these, as I don't know. I had a feeling when I was making these questions up that they were too easy, Libby. So if you want to play the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge, you can give us a call here at 954-417-0070. Because I think we need to deviate from the embarrassment of what took place here on this show yesterday when I don't know that we've ever been more in tune with an idea than that the two local teams were going down in flames last night. Panther season over, a big disappointment, and the Miami Heat with one swing probably to take a shot at knocking out Milwaukee and putting themselves in the category of being one of 8 seeds now that has won an NBA series to open things up. There were usually a lot of extenuating circumstances involved in some of these other upsets, right? Like key injured players for the number 1 seed. And I don't think you can really count Antetokounmpo since they split those games where he was out. I don't think you can say that was, in any way the reason that the Milwaukee
Oh
Bucks
no,
lost the series.
The Bucks can't say anything.
Yeah,
He didn't have their third best player the entire. Hero got hurt the second quarter of the first game. He is their third best player, and there are nights where he's their best scorer. He was their second leading scorer, and it
yeah.
was literally by like points that he was their second leading scorer, like or third. Last year he was their second leading scorer by points. Like,
Well, and he's also somebody that can generate points when other guys are slumping.
and he don't have a lot of that.
Yeah.
No, that went out the window when Hero was out the entire series, and Giannis came back by the fourth game, and he played both the fourth and fifth. Played a lot of the games. Played well the entire games. That's okay. He played well the entire games. Like you couldn't do the well. They didn't have it. No, they had a major advantage over the Heat actually, and they were the better team.
Yeah,
like, they had a major advantage, and they were the better team.
Convincing series win by the Miami Heat as an 8th seed, which it's an open defiance to all of the people that thought, much like I believe that the Panther fans had no thought whatsoever. They probably already made dinner plans for the when is Game 6 going to be played in the Panther series against the Bruins? Is that coming up tomorrow night already? Not sure, but
Friday. The
Friday night.
Bruins play Friday.
Tomorrow night. Wow. Okay, so right back with us.
Sunday.
I have to say, you're getting your money's worth of excitement all the way around. I mean, there were other games last night, both in the NHL and the NBA, and the Lakers were extended by the Grizzlies. No cinch, even though up 3-1 at one time, now 3-2 to win that series because the Grizzlies woke up from the grave last night and knocked out the Lakers in handy fashion, 116-99. The Golden State Warriors went up 3-2 on Sacramento. Yeah, you saw that coming, didn't you? Even though De'Aaron Fox he played very well, apparently. I didn't see that game, but the stats had him with 24 points in the ball game. So you're assuming, and I saw some highlights. Looks like he was shooting the ball without being compromised by this injury that he had to his finger. But it wasn't good enough. Golden State, 123, a horrible road team all season long, 123-116 over Sacramento. And now Golden State going back to San Francisco leads that series 3-2. And the Knicks closed out the Cavaliers 106-95. 4-1. Very easily dispatched the Cleveland Cavaliers. What do you think, Lubie? I mean,
look, Knicks fans do this, the New York thing. Rodgers is winning a Super Bowl. The Knicks are now the best team in the NBA. And it's not, yes, I was wrong all year. No, I wasn't wrong all year. The Cavs didn't show up.
They already moved. The Jets actually, at the press conference yesterday with Aaron Rodgers, they moved the 69 Super Bowl trophy a couple of feet to the left.
Yes.
To make room for the new one that's coming in this year.
Look,
they already made room for it, Lubie.
I was wrong about the Knicks all year. The tough and gritty thing, which I think is an asinine thing in this level of NBA because the offense is what really matters. Worked. The tough and gritty 90s, the little guy that I really don't know how he's good, who's good somehow, and the undersized big who you never know what the hell game you're going to get from him, and then a bunch of role players that only New Yorkers know won a series. It did. Like, they proved me wrong. But when I watched the series, Mobley, and it wasn't the Knicks defense, Mobley was open. He's not ready yet. He's in his second fucking year, and he looked like a guy in his second year. Garland, again, was open, had easy shots. Played like utter ass. Like he's in his third year. Like the Cavs didn't look ready, and the Knicks looked angry, bitter, frustrated, and hungry. And I give them a lot of credit. I did not see them winning that series, and I did not see them winning.
And Donovan Mitchell was outplayed. He
had to carry
by Brunson throughout the series.
But the Knicks got help. Quickly was there, and Mitchell Robinson played really well, and he got help. Mitchell got no help. And that's the thing. The Knicks fans have this weird thing about, well, we're going to be the Butler stoppers. No, you're not. You're not going to be the Butler stoppers. Drew Holiday is a top 5 perimeter defender. Giannis is possibly the best defender in the game. Both are the only two guys that defended Butler at times together, and they didn't stop him.
Yeah.
If you watch the series, it's when did anyone do anything for them? Bam went for 20, 10, and 10 last night. Like, Vincent gave you 22. That's what won the series. Butler's going to give you his 25, his 28, his 35, he's gonna. It's what do the other guys do? The Knicks other guys play consistent outside of Randall. They play pretty consistent. The Heats don't. The Heats other guys are
RJ Barrett's somewhat of a mystery to me. I can't decide, but people want to make him out to be a really good player. I'm not sure that I always see that. I mean, he was suspect when he came in as a rookie. He seemed to get it together. I guess, is he better than people anticipated? What, number 3 pick overall?
No, he's
RJ
worse.
Barrett? Yeah.
No. I mean, the other two guys, Zion just doesn't give a shit. If Zion cared,
Yeah.
then he'd be a top 10.
Zion's eating all of that food on Bourbon Street there, and it's not easy to play basketball after a bunch of
When he
A2 that's
plays,
for
he's a
sure.
fucking monster. When Zion plays, he's
Yeah.
unstoppable. He
Oh,
just
he's fun to watch. He really is entertaining.
jaw. Like RJ Barrett has been an utter disappointment.
Yeah.
That's what it sucks.
As
but
a number 3 pick, it's a giant drop off from those two, except for the fact that Zion Williamson hasn't played, and at least Barrett developed some kind of a game. No, I mean, look, as little chance as I gave the Heat of beating Milwaukee, I would. And this is probably a bad omen in light of what happened last night. I would give them an excellent chance of beating the Knicks.
Look, they don't match
And
up.
consider that a fairly even series. No,
They don't match up well. Matchups matter, but this isn't the tournament. Like matchups usually wear after a 7-game series. Like the better team finds a way to make up for the matchups. If you can beat the number 1 seed in 5 games, and now you're playing a 5 seed. Yes, that's better than playing the Celtics or the Sixers. I don't care how geeked up Knicks fans are.
something to be said for will to win. I think that was in clear evidence here in this series against Milwaukee. If you looked at it, some of the spillover of Jimmy Butler's, just unwavering will to win, actually impacted some of the other guys at key moments in those games. When, as you said, he probably needed a little bit of help because even though he was carrying the team on his back and rattling off like 13 points in a row, and then making a miraculous game-tying bucket there to keep the series from going to a 6th game. He got just enough from these other guys, but his relentless will to win. I mean, is first thing that Eric Spoelstra talked about, which it's an intangible and it's a very hard thing to kind of quantify. But and all NBA players, you would think that are at that level, possess the same LeBron James like drive to be the highest scorer ever, to be the best or be considered the best. But Butler, just unbelievable will to win, which I don't know that anybody on the Knicks team. Brunson plays hard. I mean, they all play hard. Josh Hart. I mean, that. Randall, I'm not sure he exhibits that all the time. RJ Barrett, aloof sometimes.
No, but Quickly and Mitchell Robinson and Brunson especially all play with that. And Hart,
Yeah.
I hate you, fuck you. They play with that. And it's not going to be easy for the Heat. Like Nick, I'm not hating on the Knicks. What I'm saying is New York fans are weird. Like they get focused on things. I'm better. It's not about being better. Fuck being better. They just beat the best team. It's not. You're not better than the Bucks.
They're not better than the Bucks. Yeah,
you're not. But that you don't need to be. It's the Heat, and I'm not trying to be a fair weather fan. I'm being honest. Like if you watch,
you're jumping off the bandwagon already.
Oh,
even
no,
after this?
Wow. The Heat should want this matchup. This is a better matchup for them than any of the top 3 seeds. But I'm not saying that they're going to walk over. Like it's not going to be. You're going to be in the Garden. This Knicks team is tough. They don't just. It's not Carmelo where he's going to shrink under the pressure. It's not Jeremy Lin. Like this team loves that shit. Like I'll give this Knicks team
more well balanced and deeper, than they've been at other times. Although they rarely have been seen in the playoffs. Look, the rivalry dissipated not because of the Heat and the fact that there wasn't enough steam going between New Yorkers and South Floridians and displaced New Yorkers and. The usual arguments that used to fuel sports talk. I mean, that 97 through 2000 period to be on the air here, doing local radio, taking telephone calls from people, it was a piece of cake, Lubie. Much like we're hoping the trivia challenge will turn out to be in the next couple of minutes here on the show, where you literally flipped open a microphone and said, Manny and Miramar, you're on the air. You know what? Fucking Heat fans, they're so fair weather. And you would get that. I mean, we would have to bleep out the curse words, but there were plenty of them flying, man. It was Joe Pesci City on the air there. The FCC was tearing its hair out, thinking, how can we stop this? How can we prevent this assault on what's considered to be, correct language? Which, you don't care about anymore, right? Not that we want to, overwhelmingly lace the program with swear words, Libby. You get going in Pesci fashion sometimes. I do too. That's how I grew up talking, though, which is weird that I was able to filter that out all of those years on the air. I think I only had to dump, did we hit the dump button a couple of times? In like 12 years where you actually let one slip out?
On me, I never had to. On you, I did it a couple times.
And that was mostly because I was dead tired and spaced out and getting old, And I was like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Tom Thibodeau. I mean, Tom Thibodeau was like the before shot in most of those pharmaceutical commercials. Where he's like doubled over in pain, and all of a sudden he's going to take some Ozempic, and then he's going to be dancing at Disney World with Ron DeSantis out front of Mickey Mouse, the Magic Kingdom. Doesn't he? I mean, he just looks in pain the entire time. What is that? That COPD commercial where they got the shot of the elephant, stepping on your chest. Doesn't it look like he was a victim of that, or something of just as evil in nature in terms of diseases? Or just like chronic psoriasis, something. I mean, he just looks disheveled, doesn't he? Tom Thibodeau. They wanted to run him out of New York early in the season. They wanted his ass out of town.
There's a lifespan. Like the way he coaches guys doesn't work for very long, but this group's new. You added in Brunson, you added Mitch Robinson's usually hurt, so he feels new. Like they're open to his tough, gritty mentality. And it's a lot of dudes that were discounted their entire career, so they're all about that mentality. This team embodies the Knicks mentality and the Tibbs mentality as well as any. And they like roughing you. They don't give a shit. They will rough you up. They care. They're going to make the refs make calls. It's going to be a physical series, which is not. That's the funny thing. The Bucks are a really good defensive team, but I feel like you're not scared of Lopez roughing you up. Even Giannis isn't like a rough you up defensive guy.
No, he's more like a bowl you over offensive
guy.
Yeah,
exactly. This Knicks team is going to get after it. Like Jalen Brunson's like 4-1, yet he's a really good defender because he doesn't give a shit. Like, I'm not casting any aspersion against him.
This is a real curious series. So glad we're still alive. I thought the Bucks were going to come back and win it in 7. I really did.
I'm trying to. Knicks fans are ready to, because that series was a dud. The Cavs never raised a gallop. If it's the Knicks or the Cavs, blame whatever you want. They didn't. Like,
makes it good for us.
They're ready. I'm not. I'm going to enjoy fucking last night until Sunday because I did not see that. The last 2 games totally caught me off guard. The Heat haven't done that all year. The Heat have proved me right all fucking year.
What do they have, the Miami Heat? Late game resolve and resiliency. Right? We were saying that about FAU till they finally showed us that they didn't have that in reality, that they were eventually going to choke. All right. Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge on tap. We'll give you time to dial us up. Go ahead. We want the usual suspects, new players, whoever wants to get involved here. You can dial us up at 954-417-0070. Dave Gurgles Gurgley with a previous engagement. All right. So he was unable to be a part of the thing. He does a marvelous job. He's been with us for 25 years. We're so happy to still have him on board. He's unable to make it this week. So during the course of being shocked by both the Panthers and the Heat last night, I went to my research library, Lubie, and when I couldn't find any questions that I hadn't asked 100 times already on the show in the past in my computer, I made up some new questions, okay? Which I hand wrote because I do believe I ordered some ink from my printer, but I don't think I ever inserted it, so I wasn't able to print this stuff out. So, it may be a little bit difficult. Degree of difficulty on conducting this thing is always very high without Dave Gurgles Gurgley or the Polyman for that matter. And I almost did it. I was going to call the Polyman and see if he wanted to go ahead and give it another hurrah. And I just, said, you know what, let me let the man, just kind of, come back on his own terms. I don't want to push him into it, right? Polyman, which we hope to eventually reassemble the whole crew. Anyway, Gurgle's not with us, so we'll have, I'll be conducting the questioning on the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Mike Lubie to be taking your calls. You can dial us up 954-417-0070. Lubie's going to be out tonight at Landlubbers in Plantation, where he is every Thursday night with the professor, who will join us tomorrow with another big board on our Degenerate Friday show, which now has taken on new dimensions of dementia. Not just a show, but our degeneracy. Because how did we not see this, Lubie? Why don't the gods actually talk to you when you need a talking to? Or maybe even need a spanking, like I'd been going so south lately at various racetrack endeavors that I've been on. I mean, out of the last 6 sessions, I would say I lost in 5 of them, okay? and the one time I won did not make up for the other, losing efforts. All right, not even close, right? It was a minor win as compared to, I don't want to say substantial, but by my standards, fairly significant losses, right? Where you're sitting there going, I might need another loan in a couple of weeks, right? Loan me $50. That's the way it's been going. And I am not paying off Larry King's old debts from the,
You didn't even know him.
kited and, bouncing checks that he passed out at Hialeah. I did not know the man personally. Seriously, when I go to Hialeah, somebody inevitably will come up to me and go, you are going to make good on your friend Larry King's bad checks he passed here? Like, what do I look like? The fucking Bank of Israel? I mean, why should I do that? They're still bitter about that. King went to his grave. Owing these tellers money. Unbelievable, man. All of the money that man made. Anyway, dial us up if you want to play the trivia challenge. The professor will be out there with Lubie tonight at Landlubbers. And you might be able to, if you're one of the Chronic team members, pick up the gift certificate right there to Landlubbers. A fine place, but they do a great job on the live trivia. That's probably the best, most intense live trivia competition anywhere in town, would you say, Lubie? Maybe in the country. You guys really ought to market this thing, no?
It's just different. Well, we do it because our friends asked us to do it. We weren't trying to do trivia. It's different. It covers the gambit of life and world topics. It is not traditionally easy, but it's not as hard as people think it is.
Yep.
It makes you think. And there's humor thrown in there too, which isn't usually thrown in to a lot of trivias.
Okay. All right, so we'll get the trivia challenge going here in just a moment. Hialeah Park, great place to go. They're open tonight till 3 a.m. And then on the weekends, it's always a blast till 5 a.m. We're having some great evenings. It would be a beautiful time to take in all of the grounds. Just inhale it, man. I mean, slow it down a peg, right? And, enjoy yourself. And then walk into the casino being completely refreshed, as if you had gone to a retreat somewhere and done yoga, and all of a sudden, learned all of the elements of the Kama Sutra or whatever, and then you go in there, just absolutely confident, thinking, yeah, I will parlay on the money line, the Miami Heat and the Florida Panthers. Stick it to you, Boston and Milwaukee. What a chump town that is. You can have your Greek freak and his traveling violations and, bowling people over like, they were lined up and bowling for dollars. Forget it. We're going to beat your ass and, I'm going to make some money. And you roll into a casino with that kind of confidence and you'll see it makes a difference. And you can be confident there because you're not hearing the usual brick activity where, you hear like $1 silver simulated dropping into that. Remember, I don't know if you were around when they actually dropped coins into a bucket, Lubie, slot machines. So if you hit something, man, it really...
Oh, yeah, I remember using an actual coin, yes.
Oh, my God. That was, and you had to walk out. They were called bucket people. You would be walking around with buckets of silver dollars. That had to be annoying for the casinos to keep track of all of that, huh? You think the skim was in action then? I would imagine so, right? Several dollars have disappeared to the tune of about $200,000. You want to make a note of that? Nah, just let it go. That'll be the thing. Hialeah Park, though, they always give you a fair count. It's all your favorite Vegas-style games in the casino. Steve Calabro does a great job there. The poker room is fantastic. Champion simulcasting room. Book your reservation already for the Kentucky Derby. That's only, about 9 days away? Fantastic. First Saturday in May, right around the corner here. And that's a chance to make a real score. Take the race in style at the Champion simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're going to talk some more buckets with Sean Devaney later on, but we will morph into the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge here in just a moment. Dial us up, 954-417-0070. Lubie's Landlubbers gift certificate is at stake here, and also the fine distinction of being crowned a champion. It'd be like an 8 seed beating a 1 seed, right? Especially if you upset one of the Chronics here as a new player. So don't be shy. Dial us up, and we'll be back with the game in a moment. Now that.
The time!
It's 7:50. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Ric Flair, the world's heavyweight champion. I don't have to say a lot more about the way I feel about Ric Flair. No respect, no honor. There is no honor among thieves. He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family. That is.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
All right, well, once again, everybody, great to be with you here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Michael Lubie Lubitz. Normally, we would introduce at this time the great Dave Gurgles Gurgley of Highly Parked Trivia Challenge fame. And, of course, we always pay tribute to the Polyman in this spot. However, Gurgles' previous engagement with one of his golf tournaments, so not with us this week. He says he'll be back next week. We invite you to call in and play the game for the Landlubbers gift certificate at 954-417 0070. You ready to go, Lubie? You want to start out the game in the traditional fashion? I'm going to go ahead and do that with some easy baseball in honor of the Polyman. Who said this about they asked him to sort of characterize what his career was all about and how he knew when it was time to finally hang up the cleats, and he said, who said, I knew my career was over. In 1965, my baseball card came out, and it had no picture on it. Was that Bob Euchre, Bob Barker, Bob Graham, the former governor, or Bob Bedecker, the handicapper that used to be on TVG? All right, here's the random phone scrambler to select our first player. Pat, you're on the Highly Park Trivia Challenge. Good morning, sir. How are you? How is my favorite actor?
I'm all right, guys.
You're going with A on it? Okay, very good. That puts you right in the game here, and you're in good shape. All right, true or false on this one? And we're also sticking with baseball. Easy baseball, as a matter of fact. Before co-founding Private Capital Management, Marlins owner Bruce Sherman had amassed a considerable fortune owning Mr. Softy Trucks in his native Queens, New York. True or false?
I'll say it's false.
That is false. Yeah, I don't think he ever owned an ice cream truck. It'd be kind of a I don't know. I guess you have the entrepreneurial spirit, right? You own a couple of these trucks. Mr. Softy was great. Did you favor Good Humor or Mr. Softy back in the day, Pat?
The green truck, the freezer fresh, the tongue guy.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. I think that kind of came out a little garbled there, Louis. Didn't that sound like a verbal ransom note?
His phone's not doing great, but
yeah, okay.
It's the A, B, C, or D.
All right, well, we'll stick to the letters then. Here we go. All right, you have 2 points going for 5. Jimmy Butler was selected with the last pick in the 2011 NBA Draft's first round, okay? Mm-hmm. Last pick of the first round, number 30 overall. Yes. What player was picked 29th by San Antonio just prior to Butler being taken?
Oh, Jesus.
Was that?
Oh, man.
Norris Cole, Bojan Bogdanovic, Corey Joseph, or Tobias Harris?
God. With B.
B? Bojan Bogdanovic?
B.
B.
Yep.
He said B.
Well, that would appropriately be because it gives it the alliteration. No, unfortunately, it was Corey Joseph.
I was gonna say Joseph, right?
Yeah, who was picked 29th, and then Jimmy Butler went number 30
Jesus, that sucks.
to the Chicago Bulls, where he spent his first 6 years. All right, we're going to stick with basketball here since this was such a sensational win. Well, what did you think of that victory last night, Pat? Were you stunned? Did you wake up this morning to the news?
I was shocked. It's a thrill.
Like you said, Louie, I should stick to the questions here.
I don't know why you've never done that. Now you're doing that. Like that's
All of
okay.
a sudden, I'm Mr. Friendly here. Let's get to know the callers. Yeah, absolutely.
I love Pat, but his phone sucks. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, usually that was done out of desperation when you were working like an overnight shift where you would just keep a guy on, all of a sudden, like take up a debate with a caller. Hey, what did you think about Marino? You think he was better than Montana? All right, here you go for 5 points, and this will give you 7 and put you obviously in the lead. Michael Jordan holds the record for the most points in a playoff game with 63. And this has come up recently, of course, because Jimmy Butler's 56. Who holds the record for the most points in a half with 39?
God.
Was that Allen of a playoff game? Allen Iverson, Sleepy Floyd, Steph Curry, Hakeem Olajuwon.
Jesus.
Curry.
I mean, any of these would have been a good guess. I guess I would have thrown in because it probably didn't of the other three in terms of illustrious names, but it was Eric Sleepy Floyd.
Oh, sorry, Pat. Nice try though.
He had 39 points in a half of a playoff game at one time, and I'm not sure what the outcome of that game was, but nonetheless, he put himself in the record books with that stat. All right, so Pat bombs out and fails to get a total worthy of being in the finals. You can dial us up at 954-417-0070, 954-417-0070 if you'd like to play this week's edition of the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Of course, we're, as they say, as Mark Jackson would say, man down, right? And, we're a man down today without Dave Gurgles Gurgley. So if there's a bit of confusion, please bear with us. And later on, we'll have Sean Devaney joining us on the program. Of course, outstanding NBA basketball analyst. And what better way to, finish out the show today after the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge than to talk about the astounding way in which the Miami Heat handled the Milwaukee Bucks. Not just last night, but 4-1 in the series was no small accomplishment. Especially, what was Reggie Miller still crazy, in your opinion, for saying that that the Heat would miss Tyler Hero more than the Bucks would miss Antetokounmpo if it comes down to that?
Well, I said in a one game situation, would have been maybe right, not in a series. Hero was gone, he won. Like,
I was arguing anyway.
He did well in those games.
All right, Pat bombs out. We could be coming back to him. And we'll continue here at 954-417-0070. Next set of questions. You ready, Lubie? You ready to go? Okay. Ask why he took his wife. This is one of my favorites. We've had this on the show many, many times. But while we're trying to come up with new stuff, I immediately thought of this one and said, this must go. Ask why he took his wife on Houston Oilers road trips. This coach on national television answered while his wife was sitting next to him, because she's too ugly to kiss goodbye. That's a fucking great quote, man. I'm sorry.
She's sitting there.
She was sitting there, yeah. I mean, it was like the Tyson interview with Robin Gibbons, where Mike's sitting there on the couch, the most ferocious man on the planet, and he looks like they had him on a Dilaudid drip just to keep him from reacting to some of the absurd assertions that were being lodged against him. Was that Bum Phillips, Johnny Bump City Bumpus, Michelle Phillips, or Adolfo Phillips? And we land on Mike. Mike, you're on the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, A.
A is correct. Very good. Nice job there. All right, true or false for 1 point. Shohei Ohtani, the two-way superstar for the Los Angeles Angels, nearly gave up on baseball as a youngster to pursue his passion for writing haiku poetry. True or false?
That's a tough one. Let me say true.
No, that's wrong.
If it is true, I mean, I wouldn't know it, but no, that was a blatant lie. I couldn't think of anything dumber than haiku poetry. That he would give up his baseball career for. But all right, so you have 1 point going for 4 here, Mike. Upon their inception, this is a 3-point question. Upon their inception in 1966, the draft is tonight. We barely even touched on
Oh
this,
shit, the draft's tonight.
right? Yeah. So we had to have a draft question in here.
For the next round.
Yeah.
The draft tonight. I'm euphoric. I can't think of anything.
I thought this one, I don't know why I thought this would be a gimme, but, now that I'm reading the question here, it's probably not as easy as it seemed at the time. Upon their inception in 1966, the Miami Dolphins had 2 first-round draft picks.
Oh, wow.
They took quarterback Rick Norton with their first pick. The other one they spent on, was that Jim Grabowski, Doug Cruzon,
Jesus.
Mike Kadish, or Don the Human Bowling Ball Nottingham?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Katie.
Kadish. No, he came later. He was a first-round pick, I believe, of the Dolphins.
Never
Maybe
heard
in
any of those names. Never.
like the 70s, maybe. Jim Grabowski.
I never heard those names.
Was the man that they took.
So you have 1 point. This is your 5-pointer to take the lead there.
Yeah, you could have 6 altogether.
I wish you luck.
No, this is more draft, draft stuff here with the Dolphins. Dan Marino famously fell to the Finns at number 27 in the 1983 NFL Draft. And a similar line of thinking as we had with the previous question. Who was taken 26th that year, 1 pick ahead of Marino?
God.
All right, was that Gabe Rivera, Don Mosbar, Jim Jeffcoat, or Joey Browner?
Oh, Jesus.
Jeffcoat.
It wasn't Jeffcoat. I believe it was Gabe Rivera, although I forgot to write down the answer. But I know it wasn't Jeffcoat.
That's my favorite when Defo does trivia. It was Tom. Oh, sure. No, it wasn't Tom.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the one thing missing here. But I believe that was Gabe Rivera. I'm going to go with Rivera on that. And unfortunately, Mike, I know it wasn't Jim Jeffcoat. That I'm certain of. I don't even think Jim Jeffcoat was born then. All right, so Mike ends up with a total unworthy of being in the finals, but still could be making it to the finals, Lubie. How about that?
You never know. Yep, you never know.
This game is highly contested in the reverse aspect. This is like Knicks Heat circa 1999, right? And your final here today is scintillating display of offense, 78-77. Just the way Pat Riley drew it up. Huh? How did the NBA ever prosper in that era, huh? When games were ending with scores like 78-77. You know how brutal the offense was to watch in those
It's
games?
so funny because looking back, like a lot of people like you and the professor were like, it was horrible basketball. And at the time, I was young and the games were contentious. So that's all I focused on. I never thought about it being good or bad basketball.
Oh, it was Brick City. I mean, no flow to the game whatsoever. And, literally, I mean, I don't think that the Gladiators coming out of the tunnel there with Russell Crowe had it as tough in terms of the physical pounding that they were, taking in these games. And they allowed it to go on. How did we end up where we are today, Lubie? I mean, they didn't shorten the shot clock. It was in existence then. This wasn't like the 4 corners were being played.
Curry. I mean, well, first in the 2000s, they got rid of the hand check because, again, it allowed defenders too much freedom.
But so to the tune of like 40-point differences in terms of final scores?
That opened offenses, but it's still, remember, you saw the Phoenix Suns even before Curry put up lots of points, but it didn't go league-wide. It was like a Suns thing, and everyone else was still trying to defend. And then Curry came. And then when Curry came, it was like, oh, we can't beat them without joining them. So that's when everyone just started chucking up threes and score, and defense went out the fucking window, and scores soared. Early 2010.
I'm laughing because Andy has his choices: George Velasquez, John Velasquez, Jacinto Vasquez, or Ponce de Leon. Now we should just have people formulate the question on that one.
What's the question around that?
Who won the 1978 Kentucky Derby? All right, we're coming back with more. We'll get more players in. If you want to dial us up and play, 954-417-0070, 954-417-0070. People are being stymied by NFL draft questions.
Yes, your questions are a lot. Like, I've watched the draft the last 30.
I wouldn't know any of these.
5 years, and I remember names, but you went to like 19.
I didn't know the answer to this last question, and I wrote the question, Lubie, and looked up the answer.
That's my favorite thing. When you're like,
Maybe it was Jim Jeffco. We should
they're
get
like
Mike to
Mario,
trophy. Yeah.
and you're like,
I don't even know if I could find this again if I went back to the computer. So there's one hiccup so far. I mean, I look like Budenholzer conducting this thing,
You
don't
look
I?
like-
Little schwitz forming on my forehead here. Jeez, what is
He
that?
does. He does look like the guy that just everything and is sitting outside the liquor store asking for money so he can get some alcohol.
You know how much I love Gurgles when he's on the show? I mean, I just absolutely love him on the show.
Well, it's fun.
Yeah.
And it makes our lives easier. We don't have to do
Yeah,
anything.
no, and he's really good at this. Whereas, I'm literally a clown here at this point.
I thought it
I'm
was
Stephen A. Smith in the middle of, a serious. I don't know. Is there any such thing as a serious conversation about sports? You get hostile with these people, Lubie. I never take any of this personally. I mean, whatever somebody's opinion
I'm
is
not
on
trying
sports,
to. I just I'm not mad about the opinion. I disagree
Yeah.
with it. Same thing with Brian. Brian's allowed to have his opinion. I just grew up with people saying that about South Florida teams.
That's a tough one to qualify. I mean, are the fans here really just a sick bunch of pussies?
I didn't get it. Look, when you said I never fought you because you were right. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
the word. Because I never liked bad because I've met plenty of fans that don't go to games or whatever.
Yeah.
When I first met you, you're like, it's a strange sports town. I'm like, that's the word I've been looking for.
The demographics here are very. They're weirdly diverse in an extreme way. Where you have people that are like 80 plus as a dominant demographic.
Yeah.
Which I'll soon be joining. I mean, sooner than I care to think, man.
Not that
I'm staggering home on the walk of life right now, just thinking about, hey, am I closer to my grave than I am to completing this thing? I mean, it's possible. But no, I mean, that's a weird thing, right? So, I mean, you're not expecting like senior citizens to be flocking to ball games, are you? Running down there in the middle of the night to go see the Miami Heat play. I don't blame them for not wanting to go out. I mean, the people on A1A are walking around in their bathroom slippers, walking their dogs.
Look,
Crossing through traffic. I mean, literally in a robe.
and it's not to say New York, Boston, LA are not transient. Again, if you're in those cities and you meet someone that's from there, you're even in more awe. But outside of the city, a lot of people are from there. South Florida, the whole area is fucking transient. Like when people meet me, they're like, "Really, you're from here?" Like,
and no longer dominated by people from the Northeast. I mean, it's more people from South America at this point.
From everywhere.
Yeah.
So exactly. Even in the Northeast, even if people aren't fans of that team, they're fans of the sports. Like our fans aren't fans of these. Like most of the people I come across, when I was growing up, everyone liked sports. It's not the case anymore. Like when I'm out and about, big games will be on, and no one at the bar, and I'll be at a bar, and everyone's like on their phone. Like
I saw this yesterday at the Yard House.
Like if you're in New York,
it's always nice when like a hot young chick is living and dying with every bounce of the puck in a hockey game. I don't know that happens very often here in this town, but I'm looking around. And, people were actually riveted to this game. I asked them to turn it off. It was on the TV above us at the table we were sitting at, because I assured everybody that there was no chance that the Panthers would win that game. And I felt the same way about the Heat. All right, we're coming back with more of the Trivia Challenge. Dial us up if you want to play, 954-417-0070. It's wide open to get to the finals. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz back with more of the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. And the winner, one of these days, we'll get Gurgles to offer up a box of Perdomo cigars.
yeah, why not? I mean, there's other stuff.
Prizes, yeah. That would be a little Cinderella story here if you could win that on a show. But we did want to mention Perdomo Cigars in Gurgle's honor, as he wasn't able to be with us today because he's out there, I think, doing one of his favorite things, which is like being a Pied Piper to a bunch of little kids.
They have like a really cool golf tournament going on, and he's like involved with that.
Well, that old Charlie DeLuca thing now moved. I know Charlie's gone, but that was a really, really dynamite, and well-respected universally youth golf program that he had going there at the old Mel Reese Golf Course, which I met Charlie many times, and the guy was a great guy. Well, one of those guys that you instantly like, right? Even if, he treated you as if he knew you his whole life. The minute, you met the guy, he was great. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:10.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Oh, Solo Volante will be coming late. Oh, Solo Volante, the Belmont's now 1.8 miles. The finish line is coming up quick. Luca Panici, just switch the stick.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
I think our buddy Luca Panici may have a mount in the Kentucky Oaks. He's been riding his 3-year-old filly, and I want to say he rode the horse in a big race at Aqueduct for fillies, 3-year-old fillies, and nearly mowed down like a 1-2 favorite. And, it was definitely a threatening and menacing presence in the stretch. So I would imagine this horse is ticketed for the Kentucky Oaks.
Nice.
So our man Luca could be, in a huge race there with a chance to, maybe get in on a piece of the action, certainly to hit the board. All right, this is a good one. We love Jim Sarney. We saw him yesterday. I have to credit Jim Sarney. I mean, those Harry's razor blades are great, although I did, slash my face. I got 2 minutes for slashing this morning by looking in the mirror. But it was no fault of Sarney's. Those Harry's blades are great. Now you can buy them at Publix. So he was gracious enough to and generous enough to buy me a batch of them because I had mentioned that I was looking for a replacement for the 2 blades I had originally 6 years ago when he first gave me the razor, which was nice of him. But he says he gave me the draft question. I don't remember this, so maybe I wasn't paying attention.
He gave it to me. And
okay.
Next to me the answer. Some person I've never.
Oh, you have the answer? Okay, because I would be completely stumped by this, but I love the question. The first player taken in the first NFL draft in 1936 who decided to become a foam rubber salesman instead was whom?
Heisman Trophy winner Jay Berwanger.
Jay Berwanger forsook his NFL career.
I mean, that was
being the number 1 overall pick overall. I mean, this guy, there'll never be another one, right?
Yes.
First ever player taken, Jay Berwanger, right? Was he a Navy guy?
I never heard that.
Berwanger? Or wasn't he like a Navy guy? I should know this. I feel embarrassed that I don't.
I'm decent with history. I've never heard the name. Like I've never even heard.
Oh, okay. No, I've heard the name, and but I didn't realize he never played in the NFL, so he could go sell foam rubber.
Well, they didn't make money.
That was popular at the time in bras. I mean, it really was, Louis. Maybe that's what he was doing. I don't know. Jay Berwanger. No, I think he was much more reputable than that. All right. Ready? We have to kind of steamroll our way through a couple of more players if we can, and then get to the finals. And then we'll have coming your way, Sean Devaney, going to talk some buckets with us. Basketball and hockey both been fascinating. First round action, will be what more could you ask for? This is the first thinking round.
Warriors Kings. The Warriors somehow are now up.
Yeah.
Finally won a road game. Like that would have been.
Well, they got it together. You could see this coming. I mean, you really could. I would have bet my money on the Warriors last night. I think they were favored by 2 points.
Yeah, they'll probably close it out.
Possibly because of the uncertain status of De'Aaron Fox. Although it was determined he was going to play, you didn't know how well. He played well, and the Warriors still managed to come out on top. Now can close it out in San Francisco. If they don't, though, this Sacramento Kings thing with the coach of the year and Mike Brown. Whoever thought Mike Brown would become the coach of the year in anything? Right? If he took over a pickleball team, I'm not sure that he would be in consideration. Didn't he always seem like he was just completely lost there? I mean, a nice enough guy. Obviously, he keeps getting jobs.
I honestly don't know what he was because it was a lot of it. LeBron wanted him, and then LeBron didn't want him.
Yeah.
And then in LA, Kobe was fine with him, and then Kobe didn't, and Phil Jackson took the. So I don't know if I never knew Brown was actually a bad coach.
Well, he was a long-time assistant there. I think he was on the bench
And
for a
he was
while there
with
with
the
Steve Kerr.
Warriors,
Yeah.
like 6 years, and
Yeah.
he seemed to be very important to them, and they seem to be very, very happy to have him. So, you always heard great things about Brown. What he did with the Kings this year to me sort of proved he actually is a good coach. He just got sort of jobbed in his roles
Yeah.
in the past.
All right. We have to get back into the game. We got to hustle up a couple of players if we can. So
You're like talking about Mike Brown.
there you go. Because we're easily distracted, and more than in favor of
I go right down with
any
you.
kind of transition into something that has nothing to do with what we were talking about or trying to do. All right, here we go. Asked by Roy Firestone on Up Close, one of my all-time favorites. I had to go with this.
Best.
If you were a woman, what kind of woman would you be? This all-time great hitter in Major League Baseball said, an ugly one. Was that Pete Rose, Charlie Rose, Joe Rose, or Rosie O'Donnell? And here's a random phone scrambler. And it lands on Ron. Ron, you're on the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, Defo. Let's go with A.
A is correct, and we wish you the best of luck with this thing because we're trying to find somebody who can tally some qualifying points here. All right, getting back to Jimmy Butler. I mean, there's going to be a lot of talk. You're going to see all kinds of stories about Jimmy Butler. And as a child, Jimmy Butler bounced around from home to home after being essentially abandoned by both of his parents. He says now that he found some solace in playing the trumpet and aspired to follow in the footsteps of his horn-playing hero, Miles Davis. True or false?
Let's go true.
No, that's false. We made that up.
I would have believed it.
I think he played the accordion as a kid. I mean, his parents
He's
were still a part of his life. A very strange background Jimmy Butler has. His father abandoned him as an infant, and his mother eventually just said, get out of here. I don't want you around.
But then they're involved in his life now? How is that even a thing?
Still, says he's close with both of them, I guess. I don't know. All right, let's stick with Jimmy Butler here because, this was such a phenomenon, his 56 points. Jimmy Butler's 56 points in a playoff game ties him for fourth highest single game postseason scoring with three others. Does that make sense?
It is, yeah. That's what
Okay, 56 is the fourth highest total ever by an individual in a playoff game. And he's one of four people now to have 56 points.
Yes.
So of the following, who did not have 56 points in a postseason game? Did not. Can we coordinate that, Lubie? Or were you on a time delay? Okay. You get the picture, though, Ron.
Yeah, we did.
Was that Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, Wilt Still Chamberlain, or Damian Lillard? Who did not have 56 in a postseason game?
Michael Jordan.
Oh, Jordan was one of them. Damian Lillard tallied 55.
55.
As his high total. So he was the one. All right, so you have one going for 6 here, and would put you in the lead. Let's get back to the NFL draft here. All right? That's very important. Now, we discussed this in some fashion on the show. In 1998, Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf went 1-2 in the NFL draft. Very famous draft. There was the big debate. Sports talk shows, were absolutely inundated with callers. Hey, what do you think? Leaf or Manning? Manning or Leaf?
Yeah.
What player was chosen third in that draft?
Oh, God.
Was that Charles Woodson? Was that Andre Wadsworth? Was it Kyle Turley? Or was it Curtis Enos?
Oh, boy. Let's go B.
B is correct. Andre Wadsworth was the number 3 pick. Very good run.
He was the Noel's highest pick until Jameis.
Imagine that, right? And Charles Woodson, I think, might have been the 4th pick. Turley was picked in the first round, 7th or something. And Curtis Enos, I think, was he used to work in a bagel shop that I went to in Brooklyn.
You're going to be in the finals round.
All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hang around, Ron. You're going to be in the finals. All right. We have time maybe to get in one more. If you want to do it, 954-417-0070, 954-417-0070. 0070 if you'd like to play the game. We have the Landlubbers gift certificate we're giving away. It's the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. We always love extolling the virtues of Hialeah Park. You can't help it. It's such a beautiful place. It's been such a wonderful place and a great place for me over the many years. Greatly appreciate all of the love and support we've gotten from the people at Hialeah Park. Virtually any media project we've been a part of, they have been behind us 100% and remain so to this day. And it's just a pleasure to talk about the place because it is so beautiful when you walk in there. You can't help. I love driving in that clubhouse entrance there with the trees hanging over, and it's just like one of those things where, you literally kind of step back in time into a whole different era, and then you walk in there and the place looks great, and they have all of these different things that are. From the past, the big pictures on the wall of presidents and different dignitaries that were attending the races there in the glory years of racing at Hialeah Park. But it is the glory years of casino gaming at Hialeah Park, that's for sure. And I don't know that anybody envisioned this, even the man himself, John Brunetti Sr. I don't know that he could have pictured how wonderful it was going to turn out. As optimistic and as original and innovative as he was, I don't even know if he foresaw this. It's just fantastic. The casino's great. Poker room's great. Champion simulcasting room, terrific. Great food and drink all over the place. Entertainment, bars, special events. Great things going on at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're ready to go. All right, final set of questions, Lubie. You ready for this?
Yes, you're not.
And I had to work this in, and this is in honor of Andy, who suggested that we have a quote from this gentleman. All right, who said, "Ask a writer what he thinks about critics, and the answer you get is similar to what you get when you ask a lamppost how he feels about dogs." You get the picture, right? That can only be one guy. Burt Sugar, Burt Backrack, Burt Reynolds, or Burt Lancaster. And here's a scrambler, and I believe this man is going to get this one. Lenny the Chronic. You're on the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Good morning, Chronic.
Good morning, fellas. Good morning, fellas. What a game. What games yesterday? It was awesome.
What a game. Yes,
Oh, yeah. No, boy, what a game last night, man. My old friend, Ron Harrison, for sure. All right, you have 1 point, Lenny. You're in the game.
Yes, A is
All
correct.
right, true or false? We call this guy the French Joe Philbin, Panthers coach Paul Maurice. Perhaps we shouldn't question his ability to coach so much, but this may put it into question. True or false? Paul Maurice holds the record for the most losses in NHL history by a coach with 681. True or false?
Oh, Jesus.
I say false.
No, that's true.
It's got to be true. Defoe's asking that question, and he makes fun of Maurice every chance he
Been
gets.
coaching. I didn't realize he was a head coach 25 years, most of which was in horror with various losing teams, which is the perfect reason for us to hire him to replace guys that have gone on to Stanley Cup, like Gerard Gallant and Peter DeBoer and all of these other coaches that they let go prior to this. All right, not inappropriate that you would get that one wrong, though, Lenny the Chronic, because your true-false track record is right there with our predictions for last night's games for the local teams.
Pretty much.
Well, it was unanimous. We were 0-4 between the two of us. Louie and me. Okay, here we go. And this, is on the other side of that losing record by Paul Maurice. Scotty Bowman holds the record for the most wins all time by an NHL coach. Who is second on that list, Lenny? I know you know your hockey. Is that Al Arbor, Toe Blake, Joel Quenneville, or Ken Hitchcock?
Oh, that's annoying.
Gonna go with Toe Blake.
That's what I would have said, right? The Toe was around forever, man.
It's got to be Toe Blake.
Believe it or not, I was surprised by this. It was Joel Quenneville.
Quenneville. I was like, the other one has got to be.
Of course, with the Blackhawks, and then briefly with the Panthers there before an unfortunate incident rose from his past that he had no choice but to say, "Sorry, Vinny, I did it." All right, going for 6 points. This would tie you and put you into the finals for sure. Tie you with Ron. All right.
That's waiting with bated breath.
Brock Purdy, and this is, a final NFL draft question here. Brock Purdy famously starred for San Francisco after being the last selection in the 2022 NFL draft and coming into the league known as Mr. Irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Who was Mr. Irrelevant in 2021?
Oh, Jesus.
The last pick of the draft. Was that Grant Stewart, Was that Dak Milner? Was that Chris Wilcox? Or was that Presley Harvin III?
Oh my God.
Let's go with a C.
C. No, it was not Chris Wilcox. It was Grant Stewart, but you could hardly have been expected to know that, Lenny.
I've never heard any of those names.
Yeah.
Well, good job, Lenny.
Well, that's why they're Mr. Irrelevant, right?
All
I
right,
mean,
guys.
usually that's what happens. All right, we're going to assemble the finals here.
Yes.
Well, once again, Perdomo Cigars, don't forget about them in honor of Dave Gurgles Gurley. We've known Nick Perdomo for a long, long time, and just a real gentleman. Great, Horatio Alger type of story. Was rolling cigars in the trunk of his car for a while, and that's how he was selling them. They were magnificent. He ends up evolving into a thing where he's growing Cuban seed tobacco on some land he owns in Nicaragua, so he's avoiding all of this conflicting stuff that's going on the political scene and international front, and is able to bring you the highest quality of tobacco, Cuban seed tobacco, right here to South Florida. Worldwide, world-renowned for his cigars. Cigar Aficionado has recognized Perdomo Cigars as among the best of the best for years and years and years. And you'll love it. Go online, perdomocigars.com, and you can find a location nearest you that sells these fine cigars put out by Nick Perdomo and his family for many, many years now, and a real staple of the South Florida climate here. Perdomo Cigars. All right, we're almost ready for the finals, I believe. Are we ready, Lubie? And do we have to roll a scrambler to determine who is going to go against?
No, Pat got 2.
Pat got 2.
Was in second with 2. Yes.
Okay, so we have
Chronic
Pat and Ron.
1.
Pat and Ron, right?
Good luck,
Yes.
my man.
Ron versus Pat.
Okay, all right. Here we go. I'm going to throw out a question here. Call out your name if you want to answer right away. Nobody answers right away. We'll offer a multiple choice, and the first person to call out his name gets first choice. We go back and forth till we have a winner for the championship here of this week's edition of the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Now, the Heat did it last night. They became the 6th team in NBA history to be an 8th seed and knock off a number 1 seed in the postseason. Who was the last previous 8th seed to knock out a number 1 seed in the NBA playoffs? Anybody? The last team to do it before the Heat.
Ron,
Who was it?
76.
You're right.
Really?
You know the year.
Oh, hold on. Good for you.
Who were they? Who did they?
They beat the Chicago Bulls. Derrick Rose got hurt. They knocked off the Bulls as an 8th seed in 2012.
There you go.
Great job, Ron. Wow, that's expertise, man.
Well, I appreciate you guys.
I just happened to read that.
Oh, like this morning? Beautiful, yeah. Like I did.
Yeah, we'll see you guys later. Thanks.
It's not like I went to the Library of Congress to look up these questions. Yeah,
I was going to say the Grizzlies because I remember they beat the Spurs.
I would have had no idea. I mean, I really would have had no clue. I was thinking that what was the original one, like the Houston?
No, it was the Nuggets. The Nuggets beat the Sonics. That Dikembe Mutombo one was the first time ever.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe it was the Rockets in a 3 out of 5 against the Lakers where somebody got hurt many, many years ago. Didn't that happen?
Yeah, the first 2 or 3 were the 3 out of 5 years. That's the thing. This was the 6 out of 3, the third time in a best of 7. Usually, that's why, remember, the Lakers one time lost, and they're like, oh, fuck, we can't have Shaq go down. So they're like, let's make them all in series because that'll weed out these underdogs. Yeah, the underdog could get 2 games, maybe 3. They're not going to win 4.
No.
So they were trying to weed out the
whenever the Lakers were losing in a 7-game series, they extended it to best of 9 or best of 11. I mean, until they finally found the winning situation to keep the Lakers in there. Holy Bill Sharman. All right, we're coming back. Talk some buckets with Sean Devaney. Heavy.com is where you find his work. He's been all over the place, right? Sports Illustrated. Wasn't he a long-time Sports Illustrated guy? Sean Devaney, very knowledgeable. I mean, there's nothing you could throw at him that he doesn't have some kind of in-depth and detailed response to. So we love having him on the show. And we'll get into some of the things. I mean, you talk about Man of La Mancha, right? Horatio Alger type of stories. I mean, this was the impossible dream, was it not?
100%. And again,
we're chasing windmills here with the Heat last night.
I'm not casting aspersions to my friends who are Knicks fans and they're excited. To Julian,
they've got this already as a sweep. The Knicks fans.
I'm not, but we're going to spend 2 weeks talking about the series, and we will get people excited. I personally did not see them being here, and I personally, in a rare turn of form, am going to focus on the good, the winning, before I worry about whatever the hell that next series is. I'm taking the next day or two to really enjoy the last two games because I did not see them happening. Did not.
I filled this thermos, which, by the way, nice swag from Top Hat Thoroughbreds,
There you
which
go.
I was a part of there for a little while until the horses, unfortunately, started finishing up the track that I had a piece of.
Went up in smoke.
It's the world of diminishing returns being involved sometimes in sports, right? And I'm not Bruce Sherman. I can't afford to just eat it for years and then sell the franchise. That's the thing. But in this thermos, is not coffee, Lubie. It's milk of magnesia. Because I would have given you the Cavaliers to beat the Knicks, and I would have given you the Milwaukee Bucks to easily handle the Miami Heat. No longer than a 6-game series. No way that could even go 7. But would you have felt that was a fair assessment going into the whole thing?
I thought the Cavs Knicks was going to be Cavs in 6. I thought talent-wise they had the better 3. I was wrong. Mobley and Garland were horrendous. Now, maybe they didn't play great defense, maybe, but they just were horrendous. And Mitchell wasn't his 50-point-a-night game guy, but again, he got no help either. So I was wrong there. The Knicks 1-5, and I thought the Heat would go like 5. Like I thought the Heat. People said sweep. It's like no, Butler's going to.
They're on the verge of elimination altogether, and an embarrassment where they would have been forget about the first team to see this and that. I mean, they would have been the first team to be bounced out as going in as a number 7 seed. They would have been the first ever eliminated, through the play-in tournament, which is relatively new. I mean, so it's not like, oh my God, that goes back 100 years, but it's still it's an embarrassment, is it not? Spoelstra had to think he was just about out of this thing. No, I mean he looked pretty good last night after as compared to Budenholzer. I don't know that I've ever seen a more broken man than Mike Budenholzer was after the game last night. It's worth checking out his press conference where he literally, I don't know that he ever takes his face out of his hands the entire time. You think he already knows he's a goner? Budenholzer?
I don't know how you can look.
Can you be dismissed after being like coach of the year or what? Was that just
maybe last year?
Last year, yeah.
If Middleton doesn't get hurt last year, I think they win the title, actually. Last year, I think, was their best year, and the Middleton got hurt, and that fucked everything for them. And they still pushed the Celtics to the brink, actually. But
yeah,
I figured they'd win it all last year. And this year, I thought the same. I mean, to me, it's hard to not blame Budenholzer. They did win the title. They did. And it was just 2 years ago they won the title.
But every time you're looking at something happening in that series that was of significance, especially with Jimmy Butler, you're thinking, Budenholzer, what the fuck were you thinking? Having nobody under the basket? I mean, would you not just plant? I mean, it's like the chief in Cuckoo's Nest. You would have stuck Brook Lopez under the basket there, and the one thing you don't want to get beat on is some lob to the hoop. Correct? You know that they don't have many other options there. And Spoelstra said he's going to have to throw that play out now. But the truth is, I doubt that it would ever work again, period. Because it took a miracle to have that play be successful. I mean, an amazing catch, an immediate shot taken by Jimmy Butler, who was so on fire that even that went in. All right, we're coming back with Sean Devaney. We'll get into some NBA playoff conversation. The hockey people were in action last night, too. How about Seattle, the Kraken, man? We talk about expansion teams. You're thinking Hobie Landreth, my friends.
Yeah, it's usually
You're thinking a collection of stiffs. And, they have Colorado, the defending NHL champion, by the jugular right now, up 3-2 in a series. And, they had to go to Colorado for that game also. That was one on the road.
Colorado not great this year again? I know they were fucking insane last year, and they had the same team. They're good this year, right? Like, I don't know. I don't watch.
Oh yeah, I mean they had to be. They have star caliber players across the board there. They're very good, no question about it. And they end up going up 3-2 in that series. So that was one of 2 games in the NHL, including the Panther game against the Bruins, which nobody in their right mind gave the Panthers even the slight. I don't even think Kachuk thought that they were going to win that game.
Some people
did.
There were certain people I saw giving them a shot. You know, you never know. It just wasn't me.
It's hockey, though. You know what's funny? The road team now has won 4 of the 5 games in that series, and the road team has won all of the games in the the Devils series against the Rangers. So I mean, the home ice advantage is not like home court in the NBA, where I don't know. Is it that the officials just have a different approach in the NHL because there's no way to officiate the game anyway?
They seem like
possible. Yeah, right.
You don't get a lot.
That's Slash in 2 minutes. You out of here.
A
All
lot
right,
of
we better make room for Sean Devaney. We're going to come back with Sean in a moment. Now that
the time.
it's 8:35. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in Style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Either right-handed or left-handed. Get down in there. Shirk off the defender.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show on this Thursday edition. Appreciate all the people that took part in the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge, and congratulations to our winner, Ron. Sensational. Comes up with the Philadelphia 76ers as the last previous team to be an 8th seed in the NBA postseason and knock off a number 1 seed as they did it against the Chicago Bulls in 2012. We welcome to the program one of our favorite basketball analysts joins us here on the show, now with Heavy.com, a longtime Sports Illustrated writer and generally respected as one of the great analysts in the game, Mr. Sean Devaney, who joins us here on the show. Sean, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Defo. How are you?
Well, I mean, fortunately, I didn't drink enough embalming fluid last night to actually finish the job. Although, from a betting standpoint, we did suggest that that was a very generous allotment of points. And I saw somewhere last night on one of the crawls that the Bucks went off as 13-point favorites in this game against the Miami Heat. Now, nobody here in town anticipated anything but a Milwaukee victory in that game. And very similarly to what happened in Game 4, they seem to be breezing along. And just as we were throwing in the towel on the Heat's chances in both of those games, Jimmy Butler, again, becomes a superstar and carries the Heat to victory, including the sensational play to tie the game and send it into overtime. How impossible did it seem to you, A, that the Heat would win last night in Milwaukee, in a game where, as Lubie's been pointing out, Giannis goes for 38 and 20, and Middleton, has like 30-plus points in the ball game. And if you had given, us that before the game as, okay, these two things will happen, you would have said, okay, annihilation Bucks. But,
they hang.
I mean, some people are saying this is the biggest upset in like NBA history in terms of a series. So what do you think, Sean Devaney?
Certainly Milwaukee as a favorite in this series. When you look back at some of the other, you mentioned some of the 8-1 series that we've seen in the past. You had some inklings beforehand. I think of the Warriors beating the Mavs.
Yep.
Warriors were 4-0 against Dallas during the regular season. You could see that was a bad matchup. Yet you mentioned the Bulls and Sixers. That was Derrick Rose got hurt in Game 1 in that series. So there was some the one game the Bucks won was the one that Giannis didn't play at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, this is it, and for a championship caliber team, a team that's won a championship, to lose a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter one night and then come back in the next game and lose a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter on their home floor. That is, that's as big as an upset as you're going to find. This is a really shocking result here.
I don't know if you caught any of the Mike Budenholzer post-game press conference, but he looked like he already had his fate sealed there. I mean, did they dump this guy after this series?
Yeah.
He was made to look like a fool, I thought. In spite of the fact, I mean, sure, you can give him a little bit of leniency because Antetokounmpo was out for a couple of games, but still he had him back in pretty good shape and, wasn't able to complete a victory in either Game 4 or Game 5.
Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the league. I think that's pretty widely accepted, if not, one of the top three for sure. But I think if you were to poll other coaches and such, he'd come out as the number one coach. And he's made other coaches look bad, but this was the talent level. Tyler Hero was to play. The talent level of these two teams was way off, and the chemistry level, everything was working towards the Bucks, and they couldn't get to a Game 6 here in the first. They couldn't get out of April. This was So for Budenholzer, this was. They really looked like a dumb team. That's the only way. I just watching them, the turnovers, the bad shots, the inability to get into their offense, and some of it's luck, of course, when you get hot from the 3-point line. But if a team does it for 5 straight games, as Miami did, shooting 45%, one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league during the regular season, shoot 45% from the 3-point line, then that. At some level, that falls on the coach. So yeah, this was not a fine performance from Mike Budenholzer.
Yeah, he does. Look, and I'm here to hail the Heat, so I'm sure we'll talk plenty about the Heat and definitely the rest of the NBA playoffs. But it's just funny because normally the fan of the team that won hates when people say that other team lost. Even I can't really fight that last night. The other game, I think, the Bucks relaxed, but I also think Jimmy Butler and the Heat woke up at just the right time. Last night, looking at some of the replays, even there with a half a second left, you were coming off a made basket. You have a timeout. Mm-hmm. It's just automatic. You call it. You get to move it to half court. Even if you don't score, you have a shot at a Derek Fisher, or even you have Giannis, so you throw an alley. Like, he'd have no height. Or like Lopez was doing tips the whole friggin' series. Like, the fact that no one thought to do anything there, Budenholzer or the players, is freaking weird. Yeah. And then the last play of the game, Grayson Allen. Like, you have 3 dudes who are all-stars, 3 dudes who are all good ball handlers, 3 dudes who are really good at getting to or around the basket. And you had over 6 seconds. How does it get in Grayson Allen? Like, to me, they won that title, but every other year outside that year, Budenholzer's been questioned. Like, how can he not be gone at this point?
Yeah, and that goes back to Atlanta too. Don't forget that when he was in Atlanta, they had a reputation for being a 55, 60 win team that would flop in the playoffs. And certainly, he's gotten back there. I don't know how much juice that championship still holds, and that's probably going to be enough for him to stick around. But 2 things. One is he'd be on a short leash. I think that's for sure. The other is if Giannis were to go to ownership and say we need somebody new, then you can be sure that there'd be somebody new. So one of those 2 things is probably what's next there.
Sean Devaney with us, Heavy.com basketball analyst, longtime NBA writer and analyst with us here on the show. All right, it's not the same. We know this, and mostly because the Knicks became irrelevant for many, many years, and we're no longer contenders. The last time the 2 teams met was in 2012. We do remember 97 through 2000. They met in 4 consecutive years in the postseason. Legendary stuff. What's startling, Sean Devaney, is that when you think about the Heat and the Knicks, that Allen Houston game, and I was looking at the scores in that series. That this might have been the highest scoring game, 78-77
Yeah.
was the final there. I mean, think about this. I mean, I know we went overtime, but they had 236 points in regulation.
Yes.
Here's a game that had 155 points. I mean, how different is the NBA today? What could account for that kind of differential in terms of scoring?
Oh yeah, what's funny is that it was Pat Riley, the Knicks, the Heat, all that stuff that really drove the league to try to boost scoring.
Yes.
And you could argue that it's gone too far. That what we've seen in terms of the ability to get to the rim and get easy layups and the ability to spread the floor and make 3-pointers, that maybe that's gone too far. But the only reason that that's happened, that goes back directly to those Pat Riley teams, the Knicks in the '90s and later the Heat. So what you're seeing in the league now, it's been a slow evolution, but you could trace it right back to what happened in the '90s between these two franchises.
Well, and it wasn't uncommon to frisk a player before the game and find a foreign object in his trunks. I mean, they really went after it, and there was a lot more physicality, I guess. Not that the game isn't physical today, but I guess in terms of confining defense, they certainly let a lot more go than they do at this point. All right, how do you size up that series? I mean, I know it was just made last night. I don't know if you had time to think about it, but with what you know of the Knicks and the way they played this season, I was sort of surprised to see them easily handle the Cavaliers in that series. I don't know, what the breakdown was for the Cavs, but it seemed like they had an answer for Donovan Mitchell, and and a lot of Knick players rose to the occasion, including enhancing, much like Jimmy Butler did, his playoff image. Jalen Brunson, what was great in this series. How do you size up Knicks and Heat in 2023?
Yeah, really the Knicks, they probably played as much like a '90s Knicks team as any has in the last 20 years. Where they really did play great defense and they played smart defense. They handled Donovan Mitchell well with double teams and sending different looks at him. Giving him a lot to handle and it really did throw him off. The Knicks were not great offensively in that series. They shot 43%, 28% from the 3-point line, but they really did it on the defensive end. They did it with rebounding. That could be an issue for Miami for sure. And they did it with depth. And again, that could be an issue for Miami as well. When you could pull off, a guy like Emmanuel Quickly off your bench, who was just fantastic, really, the second half of the year. Obi Toppin, Isaiah Hartenstein. They've had a really, really good bench, and that's going to be a problem for Miami that they don't have the depth. So the way the Knicks defended in the first round would be a problem for the Heat, and I think the depth is the other main issue. Can they get enough offense? Is Jimmy Butler going to be enough? And then what happens when you get into that second unit? That's going to be a real problem for Miami.
At first glance, when I first saw him out on the court, Hartenstein, I had him on my all big white stiff team, but he's actually pretty functional when he's in there. He grabs a lot of rebounds and seems to understand, that he's going to play a limited role on offense. He was a functional player for him. All right, a series still going on in the East, where we know Philadelphia is going to be the opponent for whoever evolves from Boston and Atlanta. And surprisingly, Atlanta is still alive. I mean, as surprising as the Heat winning last night in Milwaukee,
What the hell?
if not more so, was Atlanta's victory to stave off elimination. I guess it begs the magic question, since he was also present at the Bruins-Panthers game, which went against Boston the other night. Is Bob Kraft a jinx along the lines of Rachel Nichols in terms of whoever subjects himself to an interview for Rachel Nichols usually ends up on the injured list, or maybe is out of basketball altogether in a short period of time? Is Kraft possibly a jinx? Because that seemed impossible to think that the Hawks would go into Boston and win that game.
Yeah, and Kraft is sitting there with the owners right at the side, but he will not be in Atlanta. I can confirm that. So at least the Celtics have that going for him. But it was a similar game to what we saw with Milwaukee the last two, and that is, Boston had that game pretty well handled, and they're up 13 or so, and there was one turnover that they committed when they were up 13. They had a chance to get push that lead to 15 and probably put things out of reach, and then they had a turnover about 8 minutes left. And Atlanta got a fast break the other way, and things just unraveled from there. And that's the big concern with the Celtics is very often their worst enemy is themselves, and they get into this idea that Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, I've got to try to win this game myself, and that just doesn't work. So it's been 2 years really that they've been dealing with that issue, closing out games. And guys trying to win games by themselves and forcing themselves into turnovers, bad decisions, and all that. This is something that's been of a pattern for the Celtics. So it's certainly it's a concern for Joe Mazzulla and that team because, like I said, this isn't the first time that they've done this sort of thing.
What do you do with Trae Young? Because look, in eras past, efficiency wasn't like Jordan was always efficient. Like Jordan took a lot of shots, he would just get to the line a lot. He'd get his 30 plus, and no one really worried about that. He missed 20. Like Iverson is historically known for inefficiency, and people at the time didn't slam him for it. He was considered a hero for carrying a Sixers team to a 5-game series against a three-peating Los Angeles Lakers team. So, but in this era, inefficiency is a big deal. Trae Young puts up a lot of points, makes that amazing shot, and then you still see he shot 40%. As a guard, as a ball handling guard, I look at him, I'm like, dang, like the guy's, he's a talent, but where do you put him? Because he's so inefficient in an era that lives for efficiency. It sort of boggles my mind where we place him.
Yeah, and that's something that Atlanta is struggling with. What do you do with them going forward? I mean, they tried to add DeJounte Murray, thinking that a defensive guard who can take some pressure off ball handling is what they could use, and to an extent that helps, but you wind up with the same thing. It is a lot like Iverson, where with the year that they had when they went to the finals, they pretty much built that team around Iverson. You had a lot of role players, defensive guys, Eric Snow, Aaron McKee, Mutombo. They made the trade for Matt Geiger. They made the trade for Mutombo in that year. So, I mean, they had a lot of those kind of defensive guys who, were basically there just to support Allen Iverson. And it's hard to build a team that way. You're right. It's hard to build a team that way in this era. But it's almost like if you're going to have Trae Young, that's what you got to be able to do.
It wasn't necessarily surprising to see Denver handle Minnesota. A couple of the games were contentious, but and I guess it got that way too when after the series when Karl Anthony Towns went Bobby Knight and threw a chair at somebody. And the frustration was there. You could see it with Minnesota, and they may have had reason to bitch. Especially the way the late games were being officiated. For my money, someone in Denver's favor, but we expected Denver to be there. What we didn't expect is the Suns to struggle with a completely depleted Clippers team playing essentially without their two best players by far in Leonard and George. We saw what Leonard was capable of doing. He's kind of Jimmy Butler-esque in the postseason as well as good as he is in the regular season. He's even better when the playoffs come around. But did the Suns impress you enough to make you think that they will knock off Denver? Because it was underwhelming what they were doing in those games, even in beating the Clippers 4-1.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, but you've got to remember that what Phoenix is trying to do is pull together a team that's played 8 games together, and they're trying to do it in the playoffs. So they're really in just survive and advance kind of mode, and as long as they can do that, as long as they can win some games and keep moving forward, then they're going to rely on the brilliance of Kevin Durant and the attention he gets defensively. What that opens up for Devin Booker, especially. We saw how good he was, and it's not going to be pretty, but they're going to try to just rely on talent, and that's what they've got to do. But they haven't had any time together, and so because of that, they're going to be in that position going forward, and that's not going to change. So it's just survive and advance. If you're Phoenix, you're going to have to take some punches, and you're going to have to rely on pretty much Kevin Durant and how far he can carry you, how much attention he can get, and what your supporting cast can do around him. Because once you get past him, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton, it is very, very thin with Phoenix. So it's going to come down to Kevin Durant. How far can he carry you?
Why did Monty Williams sour on DeAndre Ayton? It seemed like the whole organization was down on him at the end of last year. I even recall him being on the bench in key spots. And every time I watch him, he looks like a major catalyst for anything good that's happening for the Suns, especially now, as you said, when they've thinned out the roster to accommodate the acquisition of Durant.
Yeah, it's usually defense. That's usually what gets on Monty's nerves with DeAndre. A lot of times it is matchups as well. We'll see what happens as they move forward here. But yeah, a lot of times it's going to be matchup related. But the thing that will get DeAndre sent to the bench is usually defense. That's been since Ayton's come into the league, that's been the biggest knock on him, and it's well earned. I mean, he just hasn't gotten better with that.
I mean, okay, I'll ask it. I didn't care if Defo or I asked. I'm just curious. What do you do with do you feel the Warriors have found their legs finally? They couldn't win road games. They blew the first 2 games. They've now won the last 3 in a row, including last night, which was a thriller. If the Heat don't beat the Bucks, that's the game everyone's talking about. Are we now back to where people were going into this postseason, where the Warriors look like, if not the team to beat, right there as a team to beat?
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly the way they've looked at it all along is, look, we've got to be able to go in and win one road game. And then we've got home court advantage, against every foe. And really, if the Lakers finish off and the Warriors, then they'll have the home advantage in the next round. So that's been the Warriors, is that we're capable, as bad as they were on the road during the regular season. They've felt all along like we can go on the road and win a game. We've done this sort of thing before, and I think you saw that last night.
Good stuff all the way through. Sean, we always thank you for being with us here on the program. Very exciting first round. A very exciting first round so far. And,
last night was a great night, I thought, for the NBA for sure.
Yeah, ultimate surprise there with the Heat coming out on top in 5 games over the Milwaukee Bucks, team that almost everybody, I guess about 50% of the media had penciled in for championship, at least being in the final round and possibly winning it all. Heavy.com is where you find his work. We thank you so much, Sean Devaney, for being with us as always on the show. Thanks. All right, that was Sean Devaney, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're going to be on the road with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. That always makes Mayo happy. He's a happier guy. He somehow, when he's at home, he's out of sorts somehow. Have you noticed that, Lubie?
I said it to Sarni yesterday because Sarni asked, because I guess I do all the packing up and it seems like a lot's going on. And he's like, do you hate coming out to these things? I'm like, first of all, no. I'm like, people seem to like them, so I'll do whatever people like. Second, there's something about Mayo where like the shows at home do well and people watch them and I enjoy them, but he feels different when he's at home.
You put food in front of him and a drink, and he's a different guy. He really is. And we like that guy. We really do. So today should be a spectacular, because we're going to be at the Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market, and you're thinking you guys are going to a chicken farm to do a remote? It is a great place, man, and it's right across from the Classic Casino, as it's known, a little south of the Hard Rock on 441. Been there a long time, and Doug, the owner there, is fantastic, man, and they have a great story, and they have great food, Lubie. You're telling me they'll like cook you a chicken parm or something? I mean, what were you talking about? Yes, was that you that was bringing that up?
They have pre-made meals. Like if you look where the dips are, they have pre-made meals that I'm sure they made.
Oh yeah, okay, good.
It's like a TV dinner, but from them. I'd much rather have one of their TV dinners than one of these fakakta frozen things at Walmart or Publix. Like they do really everything there, food wise.
They don't sell booze there though. We can't get Mayo a drink before the show.
They don't sell alcohol.
Should I bring something? Should I just mix up like a Bloody Mary and have it for him?
I'm not gonna fight you.
Maybe a shot of something. I don't know. Yeah, maybe a little fireball. I mean, we got to get this kid going. No, he should be inspired today because gonna have like a special thing about steaks.
Yes.
Which is not even mentioned in the name of the store, but they do have a great red meat section, unbelievable. And we're going to learn some more about that today. And with the summer grilling season coming up, is it always? It's always grilling season here. It's always fucking summer. What are you talking about, Louie?
Yes. You can
always summer.
You can grow year round, but the summer just feels a little because the water's cold the rest of the year, right? At least in the summer, you can go swimming too. So it leads to grilling even more.
What are you talking about, Louie? You can go swimming here year round. You don't go in the ocean in January?
No, I don't go in the water from November until April.
You're as weak as we were yesterday in our opinion about the Heat and the Panthers. Weak. All right, I don't want to leave the show by insulting you. Happy birthday, by the way. It was a good party last night at the Yard House.
Happy birthday, little Liam.
Yeah, with Liam, 8 years old, and Jesse and Kelly, married 9 years now.
That's amazing.
Approaching the record. No, my parents were married for like 60 years. Yeah.
70 years. 70 years.
They got married when they were like 12. And they got married, I guess, in their 20s. And both, my dad almost made 89. My mom almost made 98.
Jesus.
So that's the good thing. I keep thinking out of my walk of life. There's longevity in your family. Yes. The DNA, kind of, has longevity written in there. I'm not sure that it's going to hold up for me, though. Especially after the early 80s here in South Florida. My God, the mounds of cocaine. Certainly regrettable now. All right, so we'll see you at 12 o'clock as we'll be at the Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market on 441 right across from the Classic Casino, just south of the Hard Rock. Join us out there if you'd like to say hello. Great place to get stone crabs and all kinds of stuff. Tremendous seafood. And, as we said, the red meat section there is great. Just if you're driving through and you're hungry, man, broasted chicken, that was phenomenal.
Yes, that chicken was great. I'm going to actually...
I wouldn't mind if they laid some more down on me, or I just go in and buy some on my way out the door there.
That's my mayo. Can do the mayo. I'm going to say, Defo and I really like that chicken.
We really enjoyed that chicken last week. Mayo's probably already got it set up.
100%, and I'm still going to bring up the chicken.
Yeah, you know how he is. All right, these guys want a couple of things, but here's what we're having. I trust his judgment on most of this stuff. Right?
I do, but I like that chicken.
Every now and then he'll have like a turkey and liverwurst sandwich, and you're like, really? We're letting this guy do the ordering? Get the hell out of here! I don't care if he wrote for the Sun Sentinel.
Exactly.
And leads a group that has 103,000 followers. Right? I mean, and he was doing it again last night. I mean, with his thing at the Catherine, man, he loves that guy.
I love that he was like, I'm never letting him know who I am. And then he shows a receipt that had half of everything fucking.
Everything was deducted, yeah. It looked like a Publix receipt with BOGOs on it, where they have the $12 and then it's minus $12.
I swear we usually would say off, whatever.
Yeah.
I swear it said mayo.
Yes. Mayo special. He called in. Kid's insufferable when it comes to this sort of stuff. I didn't expect that of him. I figured, from his journalistic days, with the paper, although he wasn't paying his own cash, but they wanted you to pay for everything because, the implications of impropriety are there if all of a sudden you're just accepting a bunch of freebies like you were Clarence Thomas or something.
You would think it'd be a lot tougher for him to get used to what you always said. If it isn't free, it's not for me. Free, it's
not no, he has adopted that philosophy
very easily
and adapted to electronic media like nobody I've ever met in my life. But they used to pick up all of his expenses there at the paper and often without question. Which, I would think, never mind scrutinizing the check. I would have always scrutinized my expense reports from the days of traveling a lot with WIOD, man. That was, there was some serious inflation there. You talk about Joe Biden. All right. I used to just rubber stamp a picture of Biden on there, and he wasn't even president yet. These numbers are highly inflated. All right, we have to run. See you at 12 o'clock out there at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market with the Mike Mayo Lunchbox Show. And tomorrow, a full-blown Degenerate Friday. And it's been a degenerate's dream, people.
Oof. Yeah, if you were actually living the Mark Lawrence life, you would have done well the last couple of
Oh, my God, these dogs. It was a 3-dog night in the NBA the other night. And then you have the Heat on the money line. Are you kidding me? Getting 13. See, that's where you, when they pushed it to 13, you should have said, you know what?
Gone then.
Bleep them all, man.
God, done the in-game betting.
Heat 200 money line at 5-1. Unbelievable. Pat said it was only 375, but I saw plus 475, and I would imagine 13 points is going to get you 4 or 5-1. No way.
Yeah,
It's less than that. Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, why not just take the points and go ahead and play it for next to even money? All right, we'll see you later on as we leave you on that.
The time.
9:05.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.